Coming into the importance of all set location settings. Now, I showed you a couple of videos of me in transformation. Isn't that amazing? How we come into this line communication and everything that I set up is what is happening to you now. Let me say that again. What is happening to you now, right? I got close to 1,800 videos and showed step by step of what is happening with you. That's all, right? Whatever I'm going through, you're going through. This is the process that we all start with first through the astral connections, astral projections, and the astral travel you're setting coming into your higher self. I showed you exactly what string theory is through the location grid. All right. You have to pay attention to these things. Okay. That's why I have all these videos in chronological order. So when you wake up, you start watching them. Because what I'm going through, you're going through. Okay. To make that very well clear. Okay. Is to understand the process of why this is happening to you. Okay. How to connect with string theory, how to understand the infinities, how to turn all positions to a planet setting, how to recognize all position, location, and spectrum lights, how to calculate and modify all calculations, operation setting. All my videos are spiritual growth of me, of evolution. And that's what you're coming into. Whatever I'm going through, you're going through. Okay? So in that process, I will find a way to get all those videos on my website so you can watch them step by step. Because the thing is, I've got so many videos, you don't know which video to watch, right? Because everybody connects in a different waving length, different connections, different vibration, different energy, different renaissance, okay? But it's important you watch my videos, especially when you go into higher line setting, especially when you're coming into 88 infinity cycles, especially when you're coming into 1 + 1 = 3. All right. In calculation settings, into 2 infinity cycles into 1 spectrum, 3 infinities into 1, and then 3 into 2 into 5. Now, truly understand how this is set up. Getting you guys into God particle first is that system location, your 12 DNA setting. This puts a position locations to your infinity to your clustrum. That opens all calculations to a new line system. In that direct signal, you come into higher levels of levitation. You feel lighter. You're floating, right? In that calculation line interference, anything that changes your set inside changes everything outside, changes your position. So every time you're going higher, your earth is going higher. When you feel lighter, right, your earth is reaching a certain frequency to its conversion until it finds its balance to its higher self and its avatar. Okay. Higher self is the structures. Okay. The avatar is the geometric structure. Structure, geometric. Structure, geometric. Remember that video I did when I came back and it was in Toronto locations and I told you exactly what was happening to that set locations when you guys were coming into unified ascension going through orbs? Everything that I do is in chronological order. Going through that spiritual adaptation setting, going through the matrix, right? So in that set location system, it's all connected to the matrix circle, right? So you really have to understand what you are going through is your own spiritual growth. And everything that you see on my video has to do with you and its setting. Okay? That's the importance you have to understand. How this works in all levels of you inside. How to understand how everything works. You have the inner self and you have the outer core. You got two line communication system. It's all about understanding how to use it through all levels. Now, in that calculations, as we come in today, we come into the infinity cycles. 2 infinities of 1 spectrum. 3. Okay, so you got to balance all 3 into 1 because your 12 DNA is infinity, which is your first crown. But now the communication of the geometric location of your sun and your moon have to travel together. And once they travel together, they separate positions and become their own geometric operation of design, which is an infinity cycle of the sun and of your moon. You have to put all three layers to one setting, to one rotation, to connections of what Chris was saying, an atom rotation. Okay? That's the process that you have to come into. That is the understanding of what's going on with your setting. Okay? Especially when you go to higher levels of chakras. Okay? Because you guys are now in 88. Okay? Tomorrow you're going to align setting locations of 89 and then 90. And then we're going to deal with all levels of energy wash settings where we flush everything out. 90 to 100 is all flushing. So imagine a big, humongous waterfall coming down on you every single day, flushing everything out, taking all the density out. That's what's going to happen. Okay? Now, in my videos, I talk about that too, but on a lighter view. Okay? So it's important you understand why you are watching these videos, because it has to do with your ascension and your unification of evolution. Okay? That's a true understanding that you guys have to come into. And once you understand that, it comes into so many levels of you inside connections. And then you start to recognize everything that's going on. Right? Inside of you. Inside of you. 3 set line connections. Grounds, in calculation, the powers and the atmospheres. Earth, angelics, space. 3 set line connections of 2. Right? 5 position. So, in that correlation line interference, we have to come into a flux capacitor, the sun and the moon, your set locations to your setting, which is all calculations in geometry line interference, change it into a God particle. Setting communication system. You come into God particle, your sun comes a God particle, and your moon comes a God particle. You bring it all together to 1. 1 plus 1 equals 3. Congratulations. Right? So that's 2 infinity cycles in one spectrum. 3 infinity circles in set locations. You have to find the balance in set locations. All level setting connections. Right? All into one sequence. Yin and yang. Right? So you got to balance the masculinity and the femininity set line connection system. But it doesn't stop there. Once you get into the flux capacitor communication line set locations to all levels of 8888 position of the sun, 888 position location of the moon, 888 positions of you, what do we come into the line calculation system? What is 8888 equal line connection settings? A box position of a triangle. 9. 9999. Full cycle rotation line, position location, geometry line communications, and God particle. Boom. 9999. Done. That's what we're coming into. Connection all levels. 1 plus 1 equals 5. Right? So in that calculation line interference, it's getting everybody down to one number. Okay? One central clocking setting to all calculations, all timelines, all at once. Okay? Which is extremely beautiful in modification. All right? It's all done through line connections of your spectral lights, of your vision. Okay? So that's why you really have to understand all levels of you inside and how to evolve to higher levels of space and continuum. Okay? So as of school today, you guys are going to go line communication, line interference, interact locations. So the first time your sun and your moon are going to travel together, we're going to Mach 0 to Mach 1,000, and you're going to see exactly what goes on in position. Now, this is all through inner line calculation systems, the powers of pi. The most powerful thing is to recognize all calculations, what your sun and what your moon is doing in position. It's becoming its own perfection of its own design, of its own G-O-D. So your sun and your moon are what? Coming in all line calculation system to all levels of travels of space and time through pi. Any shape, any symbol, any letter, and any number in set location. Okay? All right, setting that calculation line setting, direction of time sequence. Now, in provisional locations, we came into this line calculations, all right? Very powerful. Setting communication to the moon, line interference, solar direct locations, all energy watch set locations into solar panels. High calculation of system and track lines at 3 track line communication settings. Now, in that direct line setting, high interference and position location operation service locations, we do the same thing in set location high system, but it lines its communications in levels of the diamond shift line setting. Versus time sequence, line positions of pi, diamond shifts its line correlation line interference in direct location system. See the diamond core line setting? So that changes line communication line interference locations to Merkabah set location of tetrahedron in opposite circles and set location line interference in trial communication system in direct signals. Setting direct signals in set location high setting versus all timeline sequence. Put the team line in position of the sun operation line conditions, mocking zero, Mach zero line interference line condition system, zero line condition system, equal line calculation setting, and balanced line calculation system, constant calculation system, 3 sets, 2 sets, 1 set, go. All right, so you're mocking now through the sun and the moon in position location. Sun is coming in, rotation surface, moon is coming in line calculation system, in kaleidoscope line conditions. Have fun, right? 20 minutes on the clock line setting, duration of time sequence. So as you guys are going through your moons and your sun communication setting, it's mocking calculations of 0 to 1,000. And then it's going to go back in your formation. It's going to go back in your space continuum. It's going to go back in division. It's going to go back in calculations to your space line conditions. It's going to go back in your spectral locations. It's going to try to find the balance of you and cell locations. Remember, the sun in the operation line setting is all calculated modify. Future operation line setting, there's the sun position location, future line setting locations, and position sun, and position location of the moon. It's always in the future set locations, travel set lines. So in that line center line interference and high set location, position location, high system, you have to recognize all communications to the system, recognize high set locations. So as you guys are marking, right, mark lines, equal line conditions, all levels, 0 locations of 1,000. Setting set lines of communication, that's 1,000 line. In rotation surface, blocking line calculations into 4 lines. 4 equals location of metric, metric location of scale, scale position of balance, setting calculation line interference, sun position, moon position location, of kaleidoscope location setting. Done by equation, right? So that's what you're going to be doing all through travel, right? Now, as you guys are going through that line center locations, you got 19 minutes. So in that track line communication line interference, taking 88 position locations, see center line communication, center line communication, center line communication, center line communication. This is what you have to come into line position location high setting, right? Sending calculations and position locations into a diamond core, right? Direction of time sequence into flux capacitor communication line position, operation surface into orb calculation stream. Setting track lines on communication line interference, 8 line rotations, 8 positions. Flux path communications comes into a box line calculation setting. Rest of time sequence, box line conditions all levels, in lines of east, in lines of west, box line communication, northwest, south, and east, and set location settings. Done by equation. All right. Setting communication line interference. So setting sun codes and sun graph line screen lines in communication setting. Rest of time locations of high calculations. Box over line center of triangle line locations, 2 and measure calculations into square root in set line condition setting, direct line signals. Setting calculation of box, line position of 6 rotates its system. Moon sets line calculation, sun operates its signals into center line conditions. Done by equation. All right, so we got a box frequency pattern, line calculation of 12D and 8. That rotates its surface in set location setting. This opens all signals in high line position. Direction of time sequence, okay, so it's kind of like repelling, but the repelling is catapulting. Calculation of the sun, indirect location of the moon, catapult, signal line calculation, streamlines, kaleidoscope line connections of projection. Setting line communications into orb channels, operation of 3 set location of the sun. Moon comes in line communication, opposite circle, opposite direction location of setting and position location, alpha, delta, theta, beta, omega. Setting calculation line interference, a gamma, line calculation, radiation line center interference. Setting communication system and all track line connections. Done by equation. Now, setting line centers is really understand how to set up sun codes. Sun code line interference, moon line position, kaleidoscope locations, and position projection. Projection location, open line signals, line condition system. Setting line communications of 2 panels of 1 lines of strip and set locations. Direction of time sequence comes into all sun. Plasma lines, direction line high speed, calculation modification streams, line connections, sun codes, allocate line interference, and track locations. Done by equation. All right, so the sun is in rotation, sending communication to the moon. Moon operations line calculation system, zero ground lines, operation surface into position locations, sun communication line setting into moon operation, opposite circle location setting, direct signals. Done by equation. All right, so sending circles and line interference locations. So the sun is coming into line calculation system. Sun is here, it's that line communication, coming into its own infinity cycle. Moon is coming in operation to its line condition, motion line conditions to its infinity cycle locations, done by equation. Direction of time sequence, understand calculations, God particle line stream. 12 DNA line interference line position location, high center line, high center location of box line position location, measure communication setting line communication line interference, 98 line calculation system, inline calculation system, direct line conditions, in position location of two line setting, direction of time sequence, position over pi calculation streamline, direction of time sequence, location position, powers and direction of timelines, high center calculation streamline, direction of time system, all heat engine patterns, operation surface location, and weather pattern communication line system, 111, 112, 113, 114, one line setting, line position location, measure communication line center, operation surface location, projector location, high setting. Done by equation. It looks like a lot of mess, but it's not. It's all signature pattern location of the sun and position in the moon. So it's signature patterns, direction location of 12 DNA line sets, all set up position locations to its operation of God particle location. All right, so how we do through satellite communication. So you can see how far generals come from, right? From day one to now. Whoa, look at the transformation location going back in time. Long hair, short hair, glasses, no glasses. Facial hair, no facial hair. Look at me now. Woo! All right, so calculations of Bandy, all set line conditionized system, Geneva. I'll say Nikki, and position location of Chris, location of Heather. Heather, how you doing? All set line connection settings, direction of time signal location of the pi, high set location interference, directing signals, Tina, David, Andy. All right, so all done position location line setting line interference. Okay, 15 minutes to go. Set line communication setting. So as you guys are mocking from 0 to 1,000, the requisite high send line condition is building friendship, relation, and partnership with your space lines as record communication setting. High center calculation to streamline position. Now, this opens up new signals now, new panels, new operation, new surface. High calculation setting. So it's important you understand how 1 plus 1 equals 5 set locations. All right? So in that calculation line interference, we take the flux fast communication line interference, we take flux fast communications and line grounds and line communication, operation to set locations. Now, line calculating is really understand position. There's Vega, there's Jupiter, there's Neptune, and position locations, there's Pluto, right? Setting calculation line interference and center line positions, center position, center position, center position, center position. Done by equation. It's all set up. All right, so waiting on signal, 1 plus 1 equals 5 calculation system. Box line calculation setting. So it's 88, 88, 88, 88 in position locations. North, south, and east. Box line setting, records of time sequence. Setting calculation system. Center line in line rotation interference. Taking the center operation locations of 88, 88 in position locations of center operation and set locations. Divisional line, rotation surface, and set location settings. Done by equation. All right, so that's waiting on signal and set locations. So the 8 channel line settings, the 8 operation surface, the 8 location system, and the 8 lines of electrical lines of energy line communication, gamma lines, alpha, delta, theta, beta, and mega in communication line interference is now in correlation system to its own infinity cycle that's in position location of track line communication operation. Setting calculations of the sun, setting operation center location of the moon, operation surface, operation calculations, operation line calculation setting, indirect line signals at its own command center location of its own infinity cycle and high rotation surface. Done by equation. Hoo-ah! Drink your water. All right. Waiting on signal locations, you got line calculation setting, 12 minutes left. All right, 12-minute line setting line interference. As you guys are marking, position location is 0. To lines of 1,000 line setting in line communication. All right, so 1 spectrum light, 1 equals location of spectrum, special line communications of 5. 5 sets lines. So we come into 1 plus 1 equal lines into diamond core, into ground lines, Merkaba, inset location, inset lines, and position location, your pyramid set location. Done by equation. All right. So there's a lot of signal patterns. Now, signal pattern is trying to understand how to set the communication line setting for your sun to be the infinity and set location of a cycle line, high calculation system. This is where we come into calculation line interference of psychometry. Setting communication line interference, location, directions. That's why you understand. Every time I put a video, it's not coincidence. It's for you to understand how to get in positions of everything that you pick up, of what it is, through its own infinity cycle. Multi-pass. Okay? Setting calculation line interference, if you look line communication settings and position location of track lines into a pencil or a pen, setting calculation line interference, zero gravity, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 line calculations. Right? That's what a pen has, but it has its own pyramid set location. Now, in reference to time sequence, it has its own line, sky grid location of 3 settings. Reference to timelines, it's the towers of communication. That's what your pen and your pencil is. Done by equation. All right. Center position line, track lines, high set line calculation, string line is really understand how to use everything in set locations. Everything that you pick up has a calculation setting to string theory. See, everything I'm saying to you is all accountability. Pay attention what comes into the videos and how it works. So you got 2 panel line, grid line interference in set locations, all right? Direction of time sequence, wave central line communications. Now it gets more complicated when you don't understand calculations of string theory set location, all right? Direction of time sequence, higher self comes in, line calculation setting, travels line setting, line interference, travels its communication system and location, inset lines and acceleration line setting. So it's you understand there's a planet line conditions of 2 panels of operation strings in set locations, right? So it goes to the acceleration, goes to the string theory, locks its signal locations into metric view. Now the metric view changes line communication of light signals. Signal code line interference location of track line. Direct line signals, line communication system. Opens up signals, opens up panels, and line communication. Line calculation system. Sun comes in line calculation system. Moon comes in line rotation. Sun comes in a higher formation line setting and all calculation location, grid set location. Done by equation. All right. So I'm showing you exactly how and what string theory is and how the actual higher self of the avatar travels through the connections of the system. Okay, the traveling system. All right. So really understand how this all works for you now. Really understand you are in operation into that setting, in position locations to its infinity. All right, it's infinity setting, right? So you're going through line communication into its own flux capacitor position, right? To its line connections. There's the intelligence, right? Ooh-ah. Setting calculation of 0 and ground lines, power direction of the center line calculation system, top line signal line interference, that's your magnetic highway information, into your pyramid, multipass, right? Pyramid sets line communication line interference, high track location system. Put an 8 line calculation system in line connections of your left brain and position your right brain set location settings. Hemisync and line connection into the center line of position locations, right? This opens up a higher levels of atmosphere line calculation system, atmospheres, hemispheres, atmospheres, biospheres. You get into ultraspheres, you get into hydrospheres, you get into automatic line, center line interference location, high calculation center spheres, you get line communication, Lydian spheres, you get into the line communication, line calculation system, a spectral line communication spheres, so many line calculation atmosphere, line calculation settings, biosphere, biometric, biocalculation setting, high calculation line, infinity cycle, high center position of track lines. Now, in that line communication system, you put 8 line interference, 8 line position of track lines, 8 line position location of space, and timeline connection on the left and right position location high setting. Versus a time sequence line connection system. So 8 comes in line center location, so 8, 8, 8, 8 position location, box line, and rotation surface. Down by equation. All right. So that's what we all come into. All right. Center calculation system. So you come in line calculation system, all setting line conditions of 8, 8 in space and 8, 8 in position of time. That's you through all calculation line, setting line, and position locations into your line setting in 12 DNA of rotation surface location. Done by equation. All right. So we got 8 minutes left to go on the clock. Take you guys out of line communication setting and rotation surface. Okay. Times line setting is 24 and 25 sets. All right. Yep. Okay, so in that set line communication line interference, we have to really recognize our communication when it comes into its own geometric line setting. Now, in line calculation system, you guys got 7 minutes, 7 minute location of clock lines, and line calculation system position. 7 minutes to go. Sun's here, and your moon's here in operation at surface locations. Setting calculation setting. Moon set up its infinity, so is the sun communication. Now, once it comes in a calculation line interference, the 8 line center line in position locations 87 line calculation system puts line communication at 88 position box line calculation T reception line calculation setting. Put you guys in line communication, line in line interference, line locations into 41 channels in phenomenal line calculation setting to the sun and the moon locations. Now by question. We're all done. Waiting you guys in line communications, 5 minutes on the clock. So but I wanted to show you how powerful it is to actually see yourself going through time on different video levels, different expansion, different evolution, different growth, right? So you know it's real, right? That's what this all is. Okay? It's you coming into a space continuum of information, how it comes into all levels of you to understand the space and time of pi, how to travel through the higher self, through string theory, through the location grid, how to understand to go through higher levels of dimensions of galaxies and universes and planets, guys, all through space continuum. Now you start off with your higher self, right? That's the foundation locations of your 12 and 13 setting. Okay, and set locations. Now you use those chakras to high rise your line connections, and you have 75, 80% line calculation system. Line communication line 67, line communication line setting, and interference location 67, 77, 80 line connected high setting line and position of water contained locations in your body. Now, as it's in your body, it's fluctuating, right? You're drinking water, drinking water, drinking water, drinking water. The more you drink water, the more you travel faster, right? You don't burn out your circuits, right? So in that set line communication system, it's important that you get into regular exercise. It's important you get into motivation. It's important that you treat yourself as you would treat others. That's what we're coming into. And the infinity cycle of set location has to be in its connection of balance, of yin and yang. The process of you is coming into a higher level of travel mechanism location of mystical line conditions of a valve. That valve centralizes its communication to your heart. The heart sets a timer that sets a communication to acceleration line setting that opens all sequence pattern communication system to infinity, 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 and 3 set locations of 1 setting of yin and yang of process locations. Okay? So, all right, and that's the line communication, 2 minutes ago. I'll take you guys out of line connections and mocking 0 to 1,000. Now you understand the communications now. Sending communication to your sun and your moon is going to go back into where it needs to be, which is all levels of its future adaptation. Okay, so it's important you understand what your sun is and what your moon is now. The whole idea is to bring the process together, how to get in position locations in a flow of recognition line connections to its process of yin and yang. Okay, 1 setting. Okay, carpe diem, seize the day is the most important thing. Your body frame, okay, the electrical line setting, the electrical interference, the adaptation surface, the location system, the position location of panel operation, line calculation, and high setting. So you can understand where I have come from and where I am now and where I am going and where I am now in this position locations. I am my space. I am my time. Okay, that's where I am. Where are you? Where do you want to go? Right? And you do it through your higher self. And you do it through your avatar. So remember, I was in communication line interference when I was calculating and modifying octave 7 and octave 1. I had a higher self inside me. I had a higher self above me, right? But it was integrated 2 into 1 setting. Okay? That's never been done. And that's that line communication. So that's infusing 2 atoms in 1 cycle in 7 locations. Automatically, I separated into the atmosphere line setting. All my particles and all my atoms and all my molecular throughout location system blended into the atmosphere. And then I became space and time of evolution. Space-time creator. Okay? So this is the importance that you have to understand and how this works for you. All right? Taking out a track line. Done. You guys are out. You're back. Inset locations. Wherever you are in central connectionized system. All right, you're back now. Setting communication line setting is really recognizing, okay, there's a travel mechanism. Inset lines of space discoveries, travel mechanisms, right? Pay attention when you are watching my videos, okay? Especially for the new viewers, especially for the new activators, because you're in your CP units. And the first thing you have to go through is all levels of travel. You have to understand the mind adaptation and how it works through you through a cycle, a social cycle, an energized line cycle, a spherical sphere cycle, a torical field cycle, a nautical line calculation system, position location, a portal cycle, line calculation, line interference, program location, position locations, operation line calculation setting. Okay? It's all up to you. Okay? You come into your own spiritual growth. You come into your own spiritual adaptation. You come into your own GOD of design. And that's what it is. That's all this is. Okay? So you have to understand that you're turning into a geometry operation of its own calculation. You're changing yourself into an engineer. You're changing yourself into an architect. You have to understand when you go to higher levels of high set location, you start to understand to see more in its evolution of space continuum. Okay? All right. So we are done. All right. Okay. So 10 lines, 10 line interference, 5-10 minutes. I'll see you guys on Zoom. Adios.